Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Well, back in July, the top two prospects at the opening finals in Beaverton, Oregon went head-to-head. Linebacker versus running back. Dylan Moses versus Najee Harris. Harris was already committed to Alabama at the time, and just this past week, the Tide got a commitment from Moses as well. How about that? It was Harris that actually won that drill, but it's the Crimson Tide that wins both players, with now of them being committed. Good evening and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Once again tonight, we are enjoying Pepsi Max Taste Zero Sugar. Rodney, that's a combination I think everybody can kind of get behind. When you've got taste like that with no calories, it's a winning combination. Pick up some Pepsi Max the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, Moses' commitment gives Alabama 3 of the top 5 recruits in the 24/7 rankings. Rodney, how big, and to some degree, because he was always thought to be a heavy LSU lean, originally being from Baton Rouge, playing at IMG Academy in Florida, how unexpected was this commitment to Alabama over the weekend?
Well, I thought Alabama had made some traction with a lot of Louisiana kids over the last couple of weeks since Les Miles firing. I thought that was really big, and I think with Dylan Moses, he had a great relationship with Les Miles,
Sure
so I think that was very important, that transition there in terms of, was he going to go to LSU because he is originally a native of Baton Rouge, or would he decide on Alabama? He originally did commit to LSU before backing off that commitment a while back.
Yeah, this is a guy that's been in the recruiting spotlight since the 8th grade.
Right.
And that's a lot of pressure to live under. But everything seems to indicate, even though he transferred from University Lab in Baton Rouge down to IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, that he's well adjusted, has a good family life, very good student, going to be an early enrollee. And, I've had several people message me and say, well, he could change his mind. You can't sign until February. I get all that. But the commitment that he put out on Twitter was well thought out. He had addressed it with his parents. I'm not saying he can't change his mind, but I don't get the feeling that he will.
Well, I think in this case it's unlikely that he would, Gary, because this process has gone on a long time for him. You mentioned he's been recruited since the 8th grade. This decision to commit to Alabama, it was a big deal for him because being from Baton Rouge, that is a very difficult thing for him to do. His family's still there. So I don't think he took it lightly. I think he's 100% committed, and I think he'll stick to it. And again, I think one of the keys is, like you said, he's an early enrollee. So he'll be here in January. That's good.
And Les Miles leaving LSU, there's no doubt that was a big factor helping Alabama. Now, recently there's been a debate, and there always are these debates, about which school is really linebacker you. In other words, what school has the best tradition of producing top linebackers. Alabama's certainly in the mix, but Alabama also could beat running back you here lately, especially since Nick Saban got to Alabama, with running backs since 2007, linebackers since 2007. Rodney, let's discuss with the commitments of Moses as a linebacker and Najee Harris as a running back. Is Alabama linebacker you, and I'll mention some guys that Saban has rattled off here: Rolando McClain, Dante Hightower, Courtney Upshaw, C.J. Mosley, Reggie Ragland, or running back you, featuring the likes of Glenn Coffey, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy, T.J. Yeldon, and Derrick Henry?
Sounds like they're both to me.
Yeah.
Very difficult to argue that point, I would say, and it looks like they're going to continue in both regards.
If you had to pick, though, one group against the other, would you say Alabama's done a better job since 2007 with linebackers or with running backs?
Well, you're putting me in a tough spot. You've had 2 Heisman Trophy winners.
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
I think linebackers have been awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go running backs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go running backs just because 2 Heisman Trophy. I know there's been Butkus. I know there's been Lombardi Award winners, Outland, and all of that. But when you've had 2 Heisman Trophy winners, both of them running backs at a school that had never produced a Heisman Trophy winner until 2009, I'm going to go with running backs.
It's difficult because both of them, you look at C.J. Mosley, Rolando McClain, Dante Hightower, all the guys that you named, certainly fantastic players, and there are others. But you've had the 2 Heisman Trophy winners. You had a Doak Walker winner. You've had Eddie Lacy, who is, as good as any of them. So really difficult to go against the running backs.
Put it to you like this. It's good that you're having the argument, because that shows you've been recruiting well on both sides of the football at 2 positions that are absolutely vital to success in college football. One other quick thought. Having Najee Harris as a commitment and those guys getting to become friends, competing against each other in these camps and clinics, no doubt that was a positive factor for Alabama getting Dylan Moses too. The best want to play with the best.
All right, and I think the magnitude he can have on other prospects, the magnitude of his kind of reputation can influence other prospects. Talking about Dylan Moses, of course, both of them, but Dylan Moses, a lot of guys that Alabama's recruiting, competing with LSU against in the recruiting. I think Dylan Moses could have an influence on some of those.
It's big. It's big for the Tide. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, we'll discuss Saturday's top 25 matchup in Fayetteville, plus another non-offensive touchdown. I mean, they just keep coming. Find out just how much better Alabama is at scoring without its offense even being on the field than any other team in the country. It's not close. And coming up, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information right there on your screen. The number is always 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us, TITV@WVUA23.com, or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. Another segment of Tider Insider Television is on the way right after this.
I seen it coming out, and I knew it was going to hit the ground, so they kind of got on top of it, but it got loose again, so I was right there to pick it up. It's very exciting, you know. I'm like the only DB that didn't score a touchdown yet, so it's finally good to get one.
Were your teammates giving you a hard time?
Yeah, they were giving me a hard time.
Through 5 games, Alabama has 7 non-offensive touchdowns. The next best in FBS, 4. In fact, Alabama is only 3 non-offensive touchdowns away from equaling all of last season's total, which was the most under Nick Saban. Welcome back to TITV. I'm Gary Harris alongside Rodney Orr. Evan's strip leading to Harrison's fumble recovery was just one of many great plays by the Alabama defense. Let's check out another in our Atrox Factory horrific play of the game.
And now, the horrific play of the game, brought to you by Atrox.
Early in the third quarter, Kentucky trying to set up a screen, but look out from behind. It's Deshaun Hand blowing up Shaheem Carter. King had to jump over his own teammate just to try to avoid Hand. It didn't matter. Hand got him while he was still in the air. That's our Atrox Factory horrific play of the game. And let's move on now to this week, Rodney. Alabama has its toughest stretch of the season coming up. It all starts with a road test at number 16 Arkansas on Saturday. The Razorbacks come into the game at 4-1 overall. They are 0-1 in the SEC after a tough loss to Texas A&M in Week 4. Coach Saban, very complimentary of this week's opponent.
Every week in the SEC, you got a real challenge and a real test, and that certainly won't be any different playing, you know, on the road this weekend against Arkansas, who I think has got a really, really good team, who's only lost 1 game this year, and certainly has shown an ability to finish games and win close games in the end.
Jalen Hurts got his first start of the season, of course, against in the game number 2. And now let's talk about Arkansas here with this game coming up, Rodney.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Arkansas, Gary, certainly they're obviously a really good team. The last couple of years, it's gone down the wire with Alabama. You know, last year, Alabama blew that game open kind of late. But this is a really physical football team, Gary. We know what they like to do under Britt Bielema. They love to run the football. They're aggressive defensively. They're very strong up front. That's pretty much what Alabama's going to have to deal with. A night game in Fayetteville against a team that's really good. Offensively, we talked about their running game. They have 2 outstanding running backs, Riley Williams, Devois Whaley, a true freshman. Both those guys went over 100 yards last week. I really like the quarterback, Austin Allen. He's come on in his first year as a starter. He's thrown for over 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. And he's just a really tough guy. I don't think you can intimidate him. He took a lot of really tough shots against in the Texas A&M game and kept bouncing back. And there you see their running game. I mean, that's what Britt Bielema does. That's the staple of their offense.
And they're going to be jacked up. I mean, Bielema said since he got to Arkansas that Alabama's the barometer, which you judge yourself in this conference against. And he says, you know, eventually, if you're going to be among the best, you got to beat Alabama. So they're going to be ready to play. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think that when you look at them, certainly, Gary, it's their biggest game of the year right now. And I think, you know, talking to people up there in Arkansas, they feel like they have a great chance.
All right, got a little ahead of myself talking about Jalen Hurts, but what I wanted to say was he got his first taste of SEC football on Week 3 against Ole Miss. Now he'll be back out on the road, diving headfirst into the toughest conference in college football for a long stretch here. Arkansas coaches talked about what they've seen from the Tide's signal caller.
I think everybody's going to talk about his rushing and what he can do and their rush offense with him in there. But he ran for good yardage Saturday, but it wasn't, it was the way he threw the football, the way that he can convert and make special plays last longer. You can see why he's a quarterback that was recruited the way he did and is why he's in the position he's in.
He's athletic. He moves around the pocket. He can create and extend plays on scramble situations as well. He does a really nice job of understanding where he's got to fit and what he's got to read in their designed quarterback run game. I think he's a really good football player, and in order for us to be successful, we got to be aware of what he's doing at all times.
What we're doing is going to a break, but when we come back, another Alabama true freshman wins an SEC Weekly Award. We'll have the details. And up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information right there on your screen on how to get in touch with us, so go ahead and give us a call now, 205-348-9882. You need to get in because the lines are going to be filling up. You can also email us or tweet at us as well. We'll be right back with a show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. We'll return after this. After a 100-yard rushing performance against Kentucky, Alabama true freshman running back Joshua Jacobs became the third different true freshman on the Crimson Tide offense to win an SEC Weekly Award. Jacobs took home the Freshman of the Week award, an award Jonah Williams won in Week 1. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts was the SEC's Offensive Player of the Week following the victory at Ole Miss. Well, it is time to head to the phone lines. Rodney, they are jammed up, so let's get right to it. Let's go over to Brent and talk with Rick. Rick, how you doing, man?
Fine, I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Very well, thank you.
I was just wondering, are we playing just as many freshmen as we did in 1983?
Played a lot of them in '83. Ray Perkins' first year, Rodney. I don't know if you got the numbers in front of you. What do you think?
That's a great question. I started thinking about that. Wayne Davis, Cornelius Bennett, of course, Phillip Brown, Kerry Good. Several others.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the Kurt Jarvis. And Britton Cooper in the secondary, Ricky Thomas in the secondary. They played a lot of true freshmen, Rick. There's no question about that in 1983. And that was a class that really wasn't considered. It was kind of, he got in late. Perkins got in late, put together the class late. So that was a really good class. But I think they're probably playing very similar numbers.
Think about this against Kentucky. They started a true freshman at right tackle, true freshman at running back, and true freshman at quarterback. How about that?
And Miller Forrestall played a lot as well, and so did Trevon Diggs on offense.
Yeah,
so.
And a lot of those guys on defense playing too. All right, thanks for the phone call. Rick, let's go over to Bessemer and talk with our buddy John. John, what's going on, man?
Gary, what's going on, man? Roll Tide.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, that's what I know. We got Arkansas is going to be tough, and I know Tennessee and Texas A&M is going to be tough. Can we beat all three of them later?
No, no doubt. No doubt Alabama can. I mean, now will they? That's the challenge. But Alabama plays well. I'll say it, Rodney. I continue to say it. When Alabama plays well, I'll take them against anybody to win the game. Now, they don't play their best against a good team. Certainly they can lose.
Yeah. And Arkansas, certainly, like we said, very physical team. You know that they're going to really challenge Jalen Hurts, the freshman quarterback. They're going to come after him, and they're going to see what he can do. But Arkansas is a really talented team. Can Alabama win the next three? As Gary said, yeah, I certainly think they can. Very difficult challenge going on the road. Back-to-back, Arkansas, then Tennessee. Then you have to come back the third week, play Texas A&M, which has an off week before they play Alabama.
That's right. Let's go over to East Alabama, Gadsden, in fact, and talk with Carl. Carl, welcome into the program.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing well, Carl.
Hey, I wanted to tell Rodney, man, you know, I'm retired, and I really got into that recruiting, man. It's fascinating. I wanted to ask y'all about one of our guys that's already verbally committed. I think his name's Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle.
That's right, Carl.
I see him, Recruit Nation sometimes. They talk about him. Is that a really firm commit, or do you think he's looking around?
Well, let's run that down for you. He was at Michigan this past weekend, had a really good visit by all accounts. You said today on TiderInsider.com that there's some concern there, but there's always concern with these high-profile prospects. It's a battle until the end, but, right now he's still an Alabama commitment.
You know, his head coach is Charlie Ward, the former Florida State player, Heisman Trophy winner, NBA player, and all that. So talked to him earlier today, and he kind of felt like there was a little bit of uncertainty right now because he's continuing to take visits. But I think Alabama's still in a strong position, Carl. But again, you have a lot of challengers out there. Michigan's doing an outstanding job. As Gary said, he had a fantastic visit there this weekend. But he'll come back to Alabama, and he makes an official here on November the 26th.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Stay tuned. Plenty more still to come. phone calls, and also a preview of year 2 of the Avery Johnson basketball era. Hear from the Alabama head coach about what he hopes to change in his second season. And as I said, more phone calls, emails, and tweets. The information's posted right there on your television screen. You feel free to give us a call right now. We'll be back with more Tider Insider TV right after this timeout.
The games are, not all that difficult, but I think coaching and the craft of coaching is a lot of times in practice and knowing what buttons to push in those situations.
Avery Johnson spoke last week before Alabama opened fall practice. The Crimson Tide officially begins the season on November 11th against Coastal Carolina as part of a men's and women's doubleheader. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. We'll take more of your phone calls right now. Let's go to Birmingham and talk to Reg. Reg, welcome into the program. How are you?
Hello, guys. Don't mean to jump a week, but Arkansas and Auburn and LSU, all those guys are bitty leagues. I got to look at Tennessee, and having gone to school up there, I've always been an Alabama fan, but going to school up there, I know they're looking forward to breaking another streak. And I'm just wondering, I want both of you to tell me if we got anybody that can block that big defensive end they've got named Barnett, and they can get 2 Hobbs. And do we have a defensive back that can cover all them receivers they've got?
Yeah, Reg, they think it's their year. They're finding ways to win games. You have to give them credit. Barnett's a load, but, with Cam Robinson and Jonah Williams, I think both those guys can block him. It doesn't mean he's not going to have his moments, but I don't think he's going to torment Jalen Hurts the way he has some other quarterbacks. Their receivers are big physical guys. That's what you see in the SEC. Alabama's secondary, though, is one of the best in the country. They've lost 9 in a row to Alabama. They want it badly, clearly. But I don't think Alabama's going to go up there and roll over by any means.
Well, and I think they also have somebody the linebackers who can put pressure, and the defensive lineman can put pressure on Dobbs. Now, again, he's very elusive. I think he's, certainly making a difference for them. I think the big key with him is not only do you have to kind of contain him with his running ability and making plays outside the pocket, but also, Gary, he's just a veteran. He's been around,
and most of his big throws, Rodney, come when he is able to avoid rushing by time. I don't see him make a lot of great throws but when he can elude pressure, extend plays, he'll find those open guys. So you've got to contain him, and you're right, you got to continue to recover receivers down the field, or he can make some big plays. Thanks for the call, Reg. Let's go over to Anderson and talk with David. David, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. First-time caller, long-time watcher.
Thanks.
I've been listening to the critics about the Alabama game this weekend against Arkansas, and I want to get your guys' opinion. I personally think Nick Saban's got this team dialed in. I think we've got the right quarterback we need, and I think we're going to go into Fayetteville and open some eyes Saturday night. Appreciate you taking my call. Tell me what you think.
All right, David. Well, I had a call yesterday right in my radio show. A guy said, I think Alabama enjoys playing on the road. I do too. Don't get me wrong. They love being at home in front of the home crowd, but I think they get satisfaction out of going into these hostile environments when Alabama is everybody's biggest game and shutting up that crowd. I think they really get zeroed in. I do think they have a little extra focus right when they go on the road. I really do. I agree with him there.
Yeah, and I do too. I think that when you look at this game, again, I know they're going to come after Jalen Hurts, but I think he's capable of making plays. I think he's capable of hitting throws down the field. I really do, even though it's not really connected yet. But I think he's very capable of that. And I really think Alabama can line up and run the football. And I'm telling you, Arkansas is a little bit susceptible to running. A&M rolled up 366 yards. And I know they had a couple of really long runs, but they rolled up 366 on them. Some other teams have had success running on them. I think Alabama can run. You remember that series when Alabama went up 10-3 versus Kentucky? That's really the only series they just lined up and said, we're going to run the football. 6 straight plays, Joshua Jacobs. They took a 10-3 lead. I think Alabama can do that. The offensive line's going to be really good.
Real quickly, let's get to an email from Brian in Mount Olive. He has a comment with all the criticism in regards of Lane Kiffin. He hopes Kiffin stays at UA. Well, Brian, I think a lot of people agree with you. And I think in the email he also referenced maybe what we were talking about last week with the possibility of him leaving. We don't know that for sure. He's done a great job. There's no doubt about that. So, relax. He may stay another year. I don't know. I just think at some point he's going to want to be a head football coach again. And if he does move on, I guarantee you, whether it's Steve Sarkisian or somebody else, Nick Saban will get a good offensive coordinator.
Well, we certainly didn't mean to give the impression we're trying to push him out the door, because he has done a fantastic job. And but there does come a time with a guy that's had his kind of success is going to be looking to move on, like you said, to become a head coach.
He has done a good job, though. We'll be back right after this with TITV. Stay with us. A Razorbacks win over the Crimson Tide will mean a lot more than pride for the Arkansas students. It'll mean pizza. A local pizza restaurant called Eureka Pizza announced it would give out 1,000 free pizzas if the Hogs beat the Tide on Saturday. You know what that tells me? God didn't think they're going to beat Alabama, because I don't think he really wants to give away 1,000 pizzas.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right, Rodney, it's time for our predictions on the game. Will those students get some free pizza this weekend? Will Arkansas pull the upset?
Well, I think really the Ole Miss game was very big in terms of the progress, the process of the development of Jalen Hurts. I think that was really a big game, the way that game kind of unfolded for him. And I think when you look at this game, I think he's going to go up there with confidence. He played really well in the second half. He was 10 of 13, 2 touchdowns against Kentucky in that second half. And I think he's going to really kind of carry that momentum over. And I think Alabama's going to line up and run the football, because I think Arkansas is a little bit weak in that regard. I pick Alabama 31-17.
I'm about on the same page with you. I got a lot of respect for Brett Bielema. I like the guy. I think he's an old school football coach. I like their approach. I still think winning the line of scrimmage is very important in college football, regardless of how much people spread it out these days. But I just still don't think they're quite there. I think they made a lot of progress under Bielema, but I just think Alabama has better material across the board, and the better players are going to win out on Saturday. I like it 33-13 Alabama. I think it'll be game now. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to be just Alabama jumps on them. I think in the second half, though, the Tide will wear them down. All right, that's what we think. And you know what you need to think about? Going to the locker room in downtown Tuscaloosa. Our beautiful shirts and ties, as always, provided by the locker room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. You can go by and see Alex Gatewood, Rush, and all the good folks there, and shop, or you can shop online at locker-room.biz. Fall is here. You need to get outfitted with the best menswear and ladies wear in Tuscaloosa. Visit the Locker Room. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, we'll have a replay for you at 10:30, and it'll be available on our website anytime you want to watch it at WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, producer Brendan Kemmerman, director Jen Hamner, and our entire TITV staff, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.